Tonight we talk about the Thai cave rescue, that wonderful story that restored our collective faith in human kindness, reset our worldview, and redefined heroism. A team of international cave and rescue divers, the best in their field, together with the Thai Navy SEALs, planned and worked to get 12 boys and their football coach out of a flooded cave complex in Chiang Rai in Thailand. They were trapped in for some 2 weeks. The entire local community pitched in to help, providing meals, doing the rescue team's laundry, even allowing their rice fields to be flooded with water pumped out of the cave. Mountaineers, at least one of them, a Filipino, helped find ways into the cave. The media moved as far away as possible from the scene, but regularly briefed. Images of the miraculous rescues released only after the last man was out of the cave, and that included the 4 Thai Navy SEALs, one of them a doctor, who stayed with the boys and their coach in the cave once they were found. No one, and we mean no one, thought it possible. But because it was made possible, now we, the rest of the world that watched and cheered on, have valuable lessons to learn. So what were those best practices we can put to good use in this country? Join us in this episode, rescue diver. Usually baliktad. Dapat Congressman muna, rescue diver and Congressman Ruffy Biazon. And joining us a little later on the show via Viber call, video call, is retired Police General, Deputy Director General Benjamin Magalong. He'll join us later, like I said, via Viber. So, Congressman Biazon, thank you very much for joining us now. Let's begin with, well, first, your initial thoughts, no, as you were watching things unfold in Thailand, and the way the story was evolving every day. What were you feeling? What were you thinking at that point?
At first, I really couldn't imagine how they would bring out those kids. At first, I thought that the best would be to let the water subside. But then later on, they said it would take months. Because as a diver, I know the perils of bringing a beginner into the water. What more these kids these are 11 to 16, I think, right. Who have no experience at all. Yeah. You're going to try to give them a crash course on diving in the most
and not just diving, cave diving, Have you done cave diving? Have you
no.
Not yet, no?
That's a very specialized field in diving. The conditions are very rough, right. Especially with this. Right.
But by the way, so you're not just an open water diver. Open water, of course, that's the first
yes,
step. You are also a rescue diver.
I'm at the 3rd level. That's open water, advanced rescue diver.
Okay, sige.
So, the conditions there, the water itself is muddy. That's zero visibility, and the feeling of going into the water for the first time, it's not that easy, especially in conditions like this.
And then, claustrophobia can set in, enclosed spaces, diving in enclosed spaces.
And they've been inside the cave for 9 days, no food.
And then, hindi ba, in water, things appear 25% larger than they are, right?
Well, in this case, it's already zero visibility.
Zero visibility. But if the silt settles and then you can see a little, anything that appears to you, there is a distortion. Tapos enclosed space pa. And then very, we've all seen the video. They've explained what it was like inside. No? So it was a really, I guess, a really very challenging time. So talagang you doubted, no?
The description really is, it's a miracle, how they got out.
But when they announced that, okay, we're going to launch rescue operations now, we're going to bring the boys out one by one, what were you thinking?
Well, the first thought in my mind was, do they have the adequate human resources to do this?
Human resources meaning the experts.
The experts. Although there were Navy SEALs, I haven't heard of training for Navy SEALs for cave diving.
Okay.
Most of the Navy SEALs I know are, of course, into combat diving.
Yeah, oo.
But cave diving is a whole
Combat
new
diving
world.
and like as we divers know, yung open water, kaya nga sinasabing open water, you dive in the ocean. You have a wide expanse of
Anytime you
beautiful
can-
marine life.
Anytime you can go up. If
Yeah,
you-
it's
of course,
really
following decompression
parang
procedures.
that's what you call recreational diving. Pero
Yes.
itong cave diving, and then in these conditions, very, very perilous.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so let's talk about, while we're waiting for General Magalong to join us, I was going through everything, no, and then I came up with 4 points, and let's go through them one by one, about what it was. And I showed them to you a while ago, and these are also some of the points that you had brought up in the last few days, no? These are the important things that came out. Kumbaga, ito na yung parang pinaka best practices siguro, no, that we saw in the Thai cave rescue. First, yung full control of the situation and command and control. The second is tasking and accountability. The third is bringing the experts and letting them dictate the tempo of the operations, in this case, rescue operations. And the fourth is keeping media kami yun, away from the operations area, controlling access, and then releasing information regularly, and then releasing video afterwards. No?
Yes.
So parang ito yung mga important. Let's begin with yung command and control, full control of the situation. Why is this so important?
Well, you have to have somebody who will manage the plan, manage the personnel. So that's the incident commander,
Yeah.
and that's command and control.
Okay.
He would be the one to make the major decisions and give the orders.
Yeah. The incident commander is not necessary, because in the way I understand it here in the Philippines, it should be the local government unit, the mayor, not necessarily, right?
Well, the procedures would give the local government chief executive the lead role.
Lead role,
Yeah.
okay. But is he also the incident commander? Is he the one who's going to make the crucial decisions?
Well, he shouldn't be. Of course, we would rather have somebody who is really trained to be specifically handling situations like this. And the local government chief executive can serve as the overall authority for the operation, but the incident commander should be somebody who has some technical expertise.
Okay. Overall authority, yung LGU, yung chief executive, someone who will be the, kumbaga, the face, the one who will speak. Ganun ba yun?
So that the people would have that feeling or the assurance that
Yeah.
there is authority handling the situation.
Yeah, okay. By the way, Congressman Biazon, no, we're talking about this not in the sense na we'll have a similar situation. We're talking about any incident that
Yes.
happens in the
Yes.
country. No, it can be anything, and we've had quite a number of incidents in the last few years. So hindi lang ito pang cave rescue, pero
Yes.
any other. And we'll be bringing that up in a while. Okay, so command and control, full control of the situation, and incident commander who will take charge of everything. Parang ano, yung ba yung parang, what do you call that, yung conductor, yung...
Well, for the orchestra,
Yeah.
the conductor, he would have a bird's eye view of the situation, so that he would know which resources to put in the proper place, the status of the different aspects of the operation. So you need somebody on top.
Yeah. So you need a good manager.
Yes,
That's
preferably
essentially what you
somebody
do.
who has training in this, because it's become a specialization. Being an incident commander, standards are necessary that would be followed,
Yeah.
and of course preparation.
Yeah. Training. Where do we get that training?
There are many
Here in
institutions
country, outside?
in country and outside which offer these kinds of courses.
Okay. While this whole story was unfolding, there were quite a number of comments by Filipino netizens, saying things like, kaya maganda yung outcome dahil walang umeepal, walang nagpapabida, yung mga ganon. Did you see that?
Yes, I think they handled it in a very professional manner. You know that the experts are the ones in control, because in our experience in the Philippine setting, typically pag sinabing ang may epal, di ba? Typically those are political figures. No? bawas ang confidence ng tao, no? And of course the expertise comes into question. So in their case, you'd know that there were experts who were in charge,
Right.
experts who had specific roles that they would do. So that the whole incident will be the whole operation would be successful.
Okay, so it brings us to the third point about bringing in the experts and letting them dictate the tempo of the operations.
Yes, like for example, as I mentioned, you'd notice that among the 18 or so divers which did the rescue operation, only 4 were from the Thai Navy SEALs. Others were flown in from other countries. Actually, they were volunteers, most of them.
Yeah, right.
Because the expertise for cave diving is usually not found in sad to say, government agencies. Most of these people are from the private sector. Like one of the lead divers there, the two men,
John Volanthen and Richard
Yes,
William
one is an IT specialist by profession.
Right.
The other is
retired firefighter, Mr. Stanton.
So
Right.
paano makapasok sa field na to kasi you invest time. And it's something that government does not usually go into. We do not have a program of training government cave divers. So I assume it's the same thing with the Thais. No?
Okay, so we should be relying on the experts, whatever the situation is.
Yes.
Of course, like I said, hindi naman ito pang cave rescue lang. Halimbawa, something else happens, call in the experts. Let them dictate the tempo of the operations. And so that means yung incident commander, yung mga politiko should take a step back.
Yes, the incident commander should know where the weaknesses are, the strengths and the weaknesses of the people under him. Recognizing the weakness of one particular group would open his mind to bring in the experts who can do and fill in that void.
Yeah. Well, Congressman Biazon, can you think of an incident in the country that was so badly handled because there was no full control of the situation, no command and control, no one person really in charge of the entire thing. At the same time, an incident, a disaster that an incident that turned into a disaster because someone who was not an expert was calling the shots, or there were experts but nakikialam, pumapasok sa eksena, or well, in so many. Umeepal kasi. But we'll get your answer in just a bit. We just need to take a very short break. This is On the Record on CNN Philippines.
For the first time, video released from inside the cave of one of the most daring rescues of all time. You can see how muddy the water is as divers disappear under the surface. Diving, swimming, and trekking miles into the cave through darkness, they reach the boys, and then the hard work begins. Loaded onto stretchers, one by one, over 3 anxious days, they're dragged across sharp, jagged floors. At times, they're pulled on top of the tubes sucking water out of the cave, part of the pumping operation that made this rescue possible in the first place. Where it's too steep, pictures show the boys hoisted through the air, a pulley system attached to a hanging stretcher. Below, rushing water makes for a swift current underfoot, illuminated by rescuer headlamps. It's all incredibly dangerous, flooded passageways, the definition of peril, heartbreakingly illustrated with the death of a former Thai Navy SEAL, Saman Kunan. He died after bringing oxygen supplies into the cave just days before the rescue began. His Navy SEAL brothers carried on their mission in his name, diving, swimming, and carrying the exhausted kids and their coach for hours until they could make it out far enough for initial medical treatment. A final picture shows the last eerily illuminated steps, heroes freeing the team from their subterranean prison.
This unity is not only with Chiang Rai or Thailand, it's a global unity. This incident was more than a life-saving mission. It's gone beyond that. It is the unity of all nationalities.
All that led to this, 12 boys and their coach, weak but healthy, recovering. Some of them seen for the first time in this video from inside the isolation ward of a Chiang Rai hospital. One flashes a peace sign, Others stand and talk. Some make the sign for I love you with their hands, likely aimed at their parents on the other side of the glass. The doctors won't let them hug their kids for a few days yet, but the mere sight of them, the first time in 18 horrific days, was enough to elicit tears of joy. This improbable reunion, thanks to the bravery and the skill of the rescuers, the men who delivered the good news the whole world wanted to hear. And something worth noting here is that the video that was given to us of the rescue by the Thai government doesn't include the points where the divers had to bring the kids and their coach underneath the water in order to get them out. Those are the parts that rescuers say were the most difficult. And so as treacherous as that video looked, it wasn't even the hardest part. Matt Rivers, CNN in Chiang Rai, northern Thailand.
Lessons from the Thai cave rescue. Still with us here in the studio, rescue diver and Congressman Ruffy Biazon, and joining us via Skype, retired Police General, Deputy Director General Benjamin Magalong. Sir, thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening, Pia. Good evening, everyone.
Well, General Magalong, you went to the FBI National Academy. You're recognized as a very good incident commander. Sir, I wanted to ask you, as you were watching this Thai cave rescue story unfolding, and given what you went through, you chaired that board of inquiry in the Mama Sapano incident or tragedy. What were the lessons, as far as you're concerned, that we could learn from the way this Thai cave rescue was handled, that we could apply here in our country?
When I was watching the entire episode, I was really very surprised the way they managed the critical incident, the rescue operations. It was very well managed. The managers know their specific task. They were able to isolate the crime scene. They were to establish the inner and outer perimeters. Everybody has a role to play. There was an incident command system that is in place. Everybody knows where to go. All the volunteers, one of the nightmares in rescue operations is that when you have a lot of volunteers and when they go to that particular site of incident, they do not know where to report, And then in this particular case, there is an incident command center where everybody is given a briefing and they know their specific task. So, as I mentioned a while ago, this is a well-managed rescue operation.
All right, sir. So what you're saying, sir, is, and this is what Congressman Ruffy Biazon and I were talking about earlier, full control of the situation, like you said, a very well-managed critical incident scenario. You had your command center, like you said, command and control, very well established, sir. It was interesting also when you said that they were able to isolate the crime scene or the incident area. And this is a point that we're going to bring up in just a bit. When you say isolate, you meant all those who are not directly involved in the rescue operation should be as far away as possible. For example, media. So pinalayo ang media. Correct, sir?
Precisely, yes. Only mission essential personnel should be at the crime scene. Meron tinatawag na primary managers or actors, and then there are support personnel. So those inside the inner circle should only be mission essential personnel who are directly involved in the rescue operations. In this particular case, this is far different from our rescue operations during tactical hostage crisis. This is very different. This requires experts like divers. These are different type of experts. We need divers, we need engineers, we need technicians. Ito yung mga kailangan sa loob, And those support personnel naman, yung mga medical aids, other types of, utilities, nandun sila sa outer circle. And they're just waiting for the managers to call for them. Media, for example, is one of the nightmares in crisis management because if you cannot handle them very well, they tend to go an extra mile, especially if they don't receive sufficient information from the press information officer. What they do is they interfere. They go inside the crime scene or the scene of the incident, and then they, on their own, acquire or obtain information. That's the worst nightmare that a manager has to handle. It interferes with the entire operation.
So what happened in Thailand was a dream as opposed to a nightmare because they were able to, well, you had the media there very near the mouth of the cave. But later on, and this was reported by media, that they were saying that they had been asked to move away. Well, media, actually, sir, I mean, I have to say this myself. Tama naman talaga, hindi po ba? Dapat talaga malayo ang media, pero regularly briefed para hindi na nga kailangan lumapit pa. At sumusunod naman po ang media, basta't sabihin. Hindi po ba, sir? Basta't maging decision yan ng incident commander. And since the way you explain it, it is SOP anyway. So if you isolate the crime scene or the incident scene, then you move the media away. And then, like you said, just regularly brief them. Or us, sorry.
Yeah, tama yun. Tama yun. They should be regularly briefed, provided with adequate information. Kung feeling ng media is insufficient yung information na nakukuha nila, especially if there is no transparency, doon sila mag-iisip na, pumasok tayo sa loob. And in that way, they will interfere in the operations. And most of the time, that is something that, we cannot avoid, especially dito sa senaryo natin sa Pilipinas. Laging nangyayari yan.
Yeah, pero well, like we saw in Thailand, apparently media was happy with the way things are going because there were regular briefings, there was information. They still were able to take video of the ambulances, the helicopters coming in and out. Kahit pa paano meron at hindi there wasn't. Strangely enough, parang wala namang rush to get the first exclusive footage of inside the cave of the rescue. Halimbawa.
Yes. The way I see it is the press information officer or the public information officer did a good job. And of course, the incident commander did a really good job handling the media. One thing is may regular na briefing, there is scheduled briefing. Walang nasusunod yung schedule ng briefing. And all the essential information that we need to provide to the media is actually being delivered. So what else do I need to know? Sabi ng media, satisfied naman kami. And besides, meron din responsibilidad ng media na sinasabi nila sa sarili nila, kung nandun tayo, we will only interfere. Baka magkaroon pa tayo ng aberya o magkaroon pa ng disgrasya kung nandun tayo. So on their own, sa tingin ko rin naman, on their own, they decided to get away from the crimes, from the scene of incident.
So let's talk about the experts. Kanina pinag-uusapan din namin ni Ruffy Biazon dito yon, yung bringing in the experts. And am I right when I say the experts should be dictating the tempo of the operations? Because, for example, in this case, in the cave rescue scenario, you have cave divers, rescue divers. Sila syempre yung magsasabi doon sa incident commander at doon sa everybody else involved, the local government officials, how it's going to happen, what they need for a successful mission. Is that correct, sir?
I agree with you, Pia. They know how to do it. They are more knowledgeable than the crisis managers, so the crisis managers have to listen to them.
All right. Is there anything else, sir, that is important to remember? Because what we want to do here is we're trying to look at ano ba yung mga best practices para we've had so many incidents in the past so many decades that the Thai cave rescue story seemed to be full of lessons for us.
All the elements of an incident crime, critical management, is present. Especially yung tinatawag nating C4. When you talk about C4 is command, control, coordination, and communication. All these were present during that particular crisis, yung rescue operations na yan. And this is very critical, very critical yan. In most cases, ang nawawala sa atin, like in the Philippines, when we try to address a particular critical incident, is nawawala yung coordination. Kuminsan naman nawawala yung command dahil kung sino-sino na lang ang gustong makisali at makialam sa management ng crisis incident. So these are the things na dapat pag-aralan natin, and let us learn from the lessons in Thailand na all the elements I've said of an incident management is present.
General Magalong, we need to go to a break, but before we do, I'm going to ask you this question, which I asked Ruffy Biazon before we went to the first break. No, can you think of any number of incidents here in this country, in the Philippines, that was mishandled, where, like you said, yung C4 was not present, which led to a breakdown in that incident? So no command, no control, no coordination, no communication. Nagka-problema. And it's a good thing that I'm going to ask you that question before we go to break, and even Ruffy Biazon here can think about the answer, so that we're going to get your answers when we come back. This is On the Record. We'll be right back. This is On the Record, final stretch of the program. Let's go to General Magalong so that he can answer that hanging question, sir.
That's a bit a sensitive question, but nevertheless,
Sir,
let me
okay
mention
lang yan,
to you what
kahit
happened.
po kayo. Sige po, go ahead, sir.
Okay, one classic example of breakdown of command and control is yung Quirino Grandstand.
Right.
Although it's a different type of crisis situation, that's a clear example of a breakdown in command and control. Another is yung
Sir, in all
Kawa-Kawa.
aspects, C4. C4, lahat yan. Command, control, coordination, communication, everything.
Yes. Basically, yan, classic example yan. Yung
Okay.
Quirino crisis.
Okay.
There are other incidents like yung Davao penal colony in a hostage-taking incident. Again, that's another breakdown of the C4 system.
Right, right.
So basically, marami tayong insidente sa Pilipinas na it seems that we never learned from it. We never learned from it. And I hope that, now that we were able to come up with a national crisis management manual, it's about time that we should be aware and people should be reading that. And let us look at the examples that we see in how other countries resolve their critical incident.
Anything more recent, sir, in terms of incidents, or okay na yan sa inyo? Quirino Grandstand, Davao, Kawa-Kawa.
Yeah.
That's it. Sir, Mama Sapano.
Mama Sapano is another incident where there is a breakdown of command and at the same time communication.
Okay. All right.
Because nawalan sila ng tinatawag natin na battlefield visualization, situational awareness, and ito yung mga causes niyan.
Okay. Well, General Magalong, thank you very much. Please stand by. Ruffy Biazon, for you.
Well, siguro one example na lang. No? Yung most recent sa amin was the Resorts World incident. No? Congress did an inquiry there. And there was a point there that the command broke down because they were not able to transfer it immediately to a more responsible person. So between the lead officer on the side of the Resorts World and the law enforcement group which came into the picture, for a while it was muddled who would be taking the lead, and it took some time before they could pass it on to and assign it to a specific individual. So that's one example.
That's one. And any other example you have in mind?
Well, in certain aspects, like for example, I would say in Yolanda, it was I would say the communication aspect. There was a problem in the communication aspect wherein the person who was supposed to be in charge of the overall operation was also the same person who was giving out bulletins. It kind of divided his attention from managing the incident to communicating to the public.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Congressman Ruffy Biazon, and also a rescue diver, and Congressman Ruffy Biazon, and General Magalong, Benjamin Magalong. Sir, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Really appreciate it. That is On the Record. Thanks for watching. I'm Pia Hontiveros.
This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, 2 years after a historic ruling at The Hague.
There are many ways of enforcing the award or parts of the award without going to war with China.
China still keeps a military presence in disputed waters.
Given the wishy-washy approach to diplomacy, I think we're much weaker now than we were before.
The government insists they aren't sacrificing independence.
We filed dozens of protests.
So would it be more than 50? I mean, an approximate, sir?
Of both verbal and
written?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to distinguish both. What, sir? What's his?
More than 50.
More than 50 na.
But a lawmaker wants the government to bear its diplomatic protests against China.
What are these? At ano yung mga results that these have actually generated?
Also, as the government